Hi guys, I know it's a little late. I just wanted to address something with this image. I'm gonna try and do this without losing your guys. So with this image, got a couple replies on one of the photography sites that I was on. Now, one of the replies was that my highlight in the water here is blown out. I just want to make this clear. I went for this glare effect on the water because when I toned down the highlight, it just looked terrible. It was a very thin highlight and it had too much noise on it. Not only that, there was an ugly halo effect and I did not like it. It just looked terrible. To me, with the way it looks now, looks more stunning and more realistic in what it looked like at sunset. So that's that. I went for this look. I think it's more dramatic. I think it looks more beautiful in our scene. I like to manipulate photos that look like this because it gives us a more dramatic scene. Now, another comment I had on one of the sites, by the way, these are the only two comments were opposed to kind of negative toward the photo, which I think this is probably my #1 best photo I've done so far. As far as the negative comments, once, like I said, the first one was about the blown out highlight. Well, I went for that. I like that look of that glare on the water. It just looks dramatic. It looks like it's something out of a movie. It looks like a scene that should be on a 4K ultra high def television. It just looks amazing to me. Okay? It looks beautiful. It looks like we're sitting on the coastline of Hawaii. And I'm literally just in Jamestown, New York. Now the other comment, let me see if I can blow out again here, guys. Hold on. The other comment that I've received was that it looks oversaturated and too vibrant. Okay, so as opposed to that, guys, I've went through this, I think. If not, I apologize. With high dynamic range photography, by just taking your photos, once again, I always take my photos on ISO 100. By taking those on ISO 100, you're going to capture more color in your scene. Okay, not only that, I used a 10-stop ND filter to capture this color in the sky and in the water. When it came to sunset, this was pretty much almost identical what the sunset looked, just except for a little more purple on the horizon. There was pinks, there was blues, and it looked great. It was a fantastic sunset. As far as my processing in Lightroom, I will tell you this. I never touch saturation, ever. Not once. I might turn it to either +1, or sometimes I actually move it down to -1. So all this right here is 0 saturation in Lightroom. I'll say it again. This entire image is 0 saturation in Lightroom. I never like touching saturation on my photos. Why? Because I don't like taking the risk of getting any type of oversaturated in my photos. When it's oversaturated, you can actually see it on the image itself. You can see the noise in the image. When I'm editing these photos in Lightroom, I blow my photo up and I zoom in 100 times, and I pick through each little piece of this image and see if I can see any noise or any oversaturation. And I'm telling you, I did not see any oversaturation in this photo because I did not touch the saturation in our Lightroom processing. I never do. I don't like it. I think people do oversaturate their photos, but another reason is if you're thinking that it looks too vibrant, if you're going online and you're going through people's images on a photography site, if you're looking at these images on your phone, all of this is always going to look more saturated. It's always going to look more vibrant due to the fact that every single phone has a blue light which darkens the entire scene and makes it look oversaturated and too vibrant. Because I have high detailed colors because of the HDR, which is the high dynamic range photography, which brings out all these colors for us. You'll have to look up some extra tutorials and see how the HDR actually pulls out a lot of color. Long as you're taking your shots correctly on ISO 100, and even using an ND filter will bring out a lot of color, guys. It really will. You don't really need to mess around much with the vibrance or saturation to get this type of color. If you just take the shots at the right time, you're always going to be able to blend in something like this without even touching any vibrance or any saturation in Lightroom whatsoever. I'm telling you guys. The only little thing that I might have done as far as the sky, I shot the sky in a long exposure. I used bulb mode. I used an ND filter, which gave us a nice little rich sky. For this image itself, when I took this image, the water in this scene all the way down was completely black. That's because I'm exposing for the sky. In that specific shot, I really don't care about the water. I don't care. I mean, we can get a little bit of color in the water, so this way we have it. But like I said, you're exposing for everything separately, guys, which brings out a lot of high detailed color. It gives you a colorful scene. That's because you're not taking one image. You're just not taking one image. If you take them properly, you can capture these colors without touching your saturation and your vibrance. I took this shot of the ground. I think it was a little more around maybe 6:30, 6:45, maybe more like 7 o'clock. The sun was higher up and hitting all of our trees over here, which gives us the highlight of the yellows inside the green trees. And once again down here, it was hitting all these leaves on the ground. It's highlighting it right here. This is the sun hitting the light, or hitting the trees, guys. Hitting these leaves. It's making the photo look a lot more vibrant than you think it is. Because I never like touching saturation. I can't stand it in my photos. I'd rather capture the colors right at the beginning, the right way through the camera, and then actually blending the image together so we have a high detailed colored photo. Because you're not going to be able to capture all this in just one photo shot. You never will. Once again, I shot everything in ISO 100. I never changed the focus point. I focused on the bench. I believe it was 17-second exposure with an ND filter on the sky. It was a very dark underexposure, which gave me a very dark, rich sky. I like that. That brings out a lot of color and it makes the scene look dramatic. It makes it look beautiful. I have had so many hits on this photo. I have a lot of potential buyers and I'm excited for it. This is a very nice photo. And once again, you're not going to be able to see what I'm seeing because even if you are trying to pull this image up on Facebook through your laptop or your desktop, you're not going to get the exact same image. You'll get the image itself. Sorry for covering up the screen, guys. You'll get the whole scene, but as far as the colors, the vibrance, the saturation, you're going to have a whole different look on your screen itself, because your screen is not manually calibrated specifically for my screen. So you don't see exactly what I'm seeing on my screen. Even just by shooting with my camera right now, I can tell the difference from my phone in looking at this image off my computer. It looks even more vibrant than it really is. It looks more saturated than it really is. That's because it's the blue light in your phone. Now, like I said with the laptops and the desktops, this is why there's a, sorry guys, my computer screen went to sleep here. Hopefully it'll come right back up. But let's bring that up for you guys. But like I said, there are a lot of big printing companies out there for photography and everything. What they use and recommend for everybody to use, if you really want to get the exact colors and the exact look of what the photographer and what that person is looking at on their computer and what they're getting, it is I'm not sure what the name of it is, but I think it's just basically called a monitor color calibrator. What it does, it sits on the top of your monitor here, and you can calibrate your monitor specifically for this person's photo. So you can actually contact the person that made this photo and ask them what their screen is calibrated to, and do a reading off your screen, and it actually gives you input of what white balance is coming off the screen, what type of pinks are coming off the screen, what type of greens, what type of blacks, what type of whites, how much highlight. It actually tells you every little detail as far as contrast and white balance. It tells you what your screen is outputting in colors. So this way they can calibrate their screen specifically for your screen, so they can actually finally look exactly what you're looking at on your computer at home. So this way they can calibrate their printers for your photo and make sure they come out exactly to what you're looking at in Photoshop or Lightroom on your desktop or your computer. So basically, when you're looking at people's images online, you're never looking at the original colors, ever. It is literally impossible to get the same exact colors and the same exact effect from everybody's image by looking through your phone or your computer. You have to have a calibrator connected to your screen to calibrate it specifically for that person that posted the photo, so you can see exactly what they're looking at. So once again, I just wanted to let everybody know, I know my photo, that's one thing I don't do in Lightroom. I know I do not touch the saturation. I know I spent about 2.5 hours on this photo. I combed through it very fine and blew it all up and made sure there was no oversaturation. It wasn't over vibrant, because I even hardly touched the vibrance. You heard me correct, guys. I never touched the vibrant. I maybe put it up to +3. And +3 is not that much vibrance whatsoever. Again, I toned a little bit of temperature here, but not too much. I did a tiny temperature on the water. It was maybe negative. I took it down 1 notch. Or I'm sorry, I took it up 1 notch. But other than that, guys, I really did not mess with the colors in this scene because I had my camera set on ISO 100 at all times. I took my shots at the right moments, which was 300 seconds for the trees when the sun was high up in the sky and highlighting all these trees with the perfect color. And I did a great exposure on that, and that gave us this beautiful color in the trees and in the leaves down here in the ground, guys. Same thing with the water at sunset. I took a very short exposure for the sky with an ND filter, which gave us a very dark looking sky for a more dramatic feel. As far as the water is considered, I took a very long exposure for the water to get a nice white water soft look over here. And it has a little bit of pink in here because that's why I took it at sunset, is to get the pink water instead of having more of a yellow water down here. So guys, once again, HDR, high dynamic range photography, it really does bring out high detail and colors. Please, if you are really trying to look for this image in the exact colors, then I advise you to go online and look up monitored calibrators, and they run about $100. I don't think it's necessary because I'm going to be buying my own printer and calibrating my own printer. I know what I'm looking at and I know what I'm printing. I've gotten this before saying that it looks oversaturated when it's not saturated. I've even went it over with another photographer and he explained to me about the calibers, and it makes sense. I even talked to a technician over at a printing company because where I get my prints, and he explained it to me as well. I'm actually thinking about getting it, but I just can't justify spending the money on the calibrator when I can just buy the printer itself and calibrate it specifically for my screen, so I'm getting exactly this picture off my screen onto the print. So guys, if you have any more questions, I'm happy to address them. But like I said, this whole scene right here is zero saturation. And once again, if you want to see what the saturation looks like when somebody tones that saturation up too high, well, there you go, guys. Do you see this nasty effect right here? That like dark halo effect? That's oversaturated. You can even tell in the greens. It doesn't look good at all. It just doesn't look good, guys. All this scene right here is either negative saturation or zero saturation. I never touch my saturation, guys. So if you've seen what I'm seeing on my computer screen, you would definitely see what I'm talking about. Because even just doing this video right now, I can tell the difference from my screen onto my phone right now by shooting this video. It's making the image look even more vibrant and saturated. That's because of the blue light. I've had issues with printing companies before because once I sent my images over, it never looks like my image because it's not. Their computers are specifically calibrated for their printers. So once they print them out, you don't get this. You don't get the picture that you're looking at. So if you want to send to a printing company, I advise you to buy the $100 calibrator that sits on the monitor here or your desktop. So this way you can calibrate your screens for the printer company so you get the exact image that you're looking at. But when you're online, guys, you're never going to see the exact colors, ever. It's literally impossible unless if you have a calibrator and you're calibrating your screen specifically for this photographer's image. So you'll never get that, guys. I'm sorry, but it's just impossible to see the exact color image that what I'm looking at or the other photographers looking at on their screen. Alright guys, well I'm happy to address anything else if you have any more questions, but I'm very happy with this print. I'm very happy with this image. I wish you could see exactly what I'm talking about. I wish you were standing in front of my computer with me because this image really is the best photo I've ever done right now. And I'm going to get a really nice large acrylic print and put it right above my bed or above my couch. I have multiple buyers that are interested, or potential potential buyers that are interested in this photo, and I'm very happy about that. They love this scene. They really do. They love the color of the scene. They love the whole feel of the scene. They feel like they're sitting right there with me, guys. This is a great photograph, and I just wish you can be here to see exactly what I'm talking about, that none of this is blown out. Or I agree with the water, because I went for that look. I specifically went for that look. But as far as the saturation, the vibrance, guys, I'm probably on +2 vibrance and negative or 0 saturation. So once again, you got to get out there and take the shot at the right time. Use the right equipment to get the correct colors. You just got to do it correctly right before, right when you are taking the photo itself, to get these nice images like that. But this was our scene, just in 4 separate photos. So once again, the high dynamic range photography really brings out high detailed colors and high detail period. So if you have any more questions, like I said, just go ahead and research HDR photography, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Thank you so much for joining me again, guys. It's getting late. I'm going to have to hit the bed, but hopefully we'll get out there and capture some more gorgeous images, and I'll go through the blending steps once more with you and show you how we actually we'll start the process from the beginning to the end. We'll find a shot, we'll set up for that shot. I will explain each exposure and why I'm doing that exposure and how I plan on getting these colors like that, so this way you can see what I'm talking about. Like I said, a shorter exposure on the sky with an ND filter gave me the nice vibrant sky. Everything else was kind of black in that image. But again, I'm not worrying about this. I'm just worrying about the sky. I took a shot for the grass and leaves here. I think it was 300 seconds. And that gave us a nice crisp trees without blowing leaves around and making our image blurry up top and down at the bottom. As far as the water, I believe I did around 40 seconds for the water to get a nice white soft water with a little bit of that purple sunset in it. And once again, I went for this glare on the water itself. It was more of a dramatic look, and it just fits in this photo, guys. Like I said, again, it really is up to you what you want it to reflect on the last image. This is what and how I wanted it to reflect, and it came out completely dramatic and a gorgeous, stunning scene. And I just wish you can be here to see the exact colors on this image, because we did our exposures at the right and perfect time and the right way the first time, right through the camera, instead of going straight to Lightroom and doing all of the colors and changes directly in Lightroom. When you're going to capture something like this, you need to do it from the beginning and make sure you're taking your exposures properly at the right time to capture all this color, guys. Alright, guys, thank you again, and I hope to see you at the open gallery at Jessica L. Cobb's studio. It's going to be in the courtyard on Cherry Street. It's going to be Saturday. Opens up at 9 a.m. to 9 a.m. to noon. I will be there with a few prints. Unfortunately, I will not have this print ready by Saturday. So if you're interested in looking to get this print, as far as acrylic print or an HD acrylic print, an HD metal print, or if you're just looking for a regular basic print and matted and framed, just let me know, guys. Private message me. Like I said, this is my best image yet. And like I said, guys, this is 0 saturation. No saturation whatsoever in Lightroom or Photoshop. I did not touch any saturation whatsoever, because we did it the right way when we took the photo. Alright, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate it, and you guys have a great night and get some sleep. Thank you for joining me like always. Hope to see you Saturday.